In this video, we'll be looking at our first CDK from Angular material, the CDK layout. If we take a look at our grid layout currently in the dashboard, it looks great in larger screens, but if we open up the dev tools and resize our screen to a smaller screen size, the current layout for our buttons don't look that good. To fix this, we could use the Angular material CDK layout to make our grid responsive. We'll configure it to show one column on small screen sizes and two columns on large screen sizes. But before we do that, let's look at the CDK layout within the documentation. And then at the top here, you'll see the CDK link. This is the first time we're visiting this page. And then what we're looking for in here is the layout. You can find that within the main section here, this link here, or on the left layout, select that. And here we can learn about the Breakpoint Observer. This is what we'll be implementing in this video inside of the dashboard component, the TypeScript file. This will listen to different screen size changes and respond when the viewport crosses a defined breakpoint. But before we can use this, we need to double check to make sure that we already have a CDK library installed inside of our package.json file. Let's check that first. Inside of the package.json file, in a prior video, we installed this Angular CDK. You should see this before moving forward. If you do not see this, you'll want to run the npm install and install this Angular CDK package. We set that up in a prior video back in module 1. Once you have this package installed, then you'll be ready to move forward, and we'll start inside the dashboard component TS file. And the first thing we'll do inside this file is we'll import the Breakpoint Observer and bring that in from Angular CDK layout. Once you're importing that, then we can bring it into our class by injecting it. And here I'm using the Angular inject, and I'm already bringing that in from Angular core up here at the top. And then we're injecting the Breakpoint Observer that we just imported, setting that to a private property. And now we have access to the Breakpoint Observer. Now if we call on this, and I'll set this to a read-only property, and we'll be creating a column, and this will be an observable. And then now if we call on this Breakpoint Observer, and then if you hit dot, you'll get access to this property is matched and also observe. We're interested in the observe in this example, select that. And this is a method. And here you can enter in different breakpoints that you want to listen for. You can enter it in as a string or an array of strings. We'll use the array. We can manually enter in all the breakpoints that we want to listen for, or we could use a constant that Angular CDK layout gives us. Let's look at an example within the documentation. Within the API tab at the top, you'll see the Breakpoint Observer that we just brought in, and then you'll also see the observed method. But what we're interested in is the breakpoints all the way at the bottom, the constants. And we'll bring in the breakpoints constant from the CDK layout, and it'll give us access to all these properties here. What the media queries look like, if you go back to the overview page, and then on the right select the predefined breakpoints. If you would console log this constant, you would see these media queries. The ones we're interested in listening for is the extra small, the small, and the medium. If it's any of these three media queries, we'll set our grid to one column. But first, we'll need to bring in our breakpoint constant, and I will just copy this. And within the imports, we'll bring in the breakpoints constant. And now we're bringing in that breakpoints constant from the CDK layout. And then now we could call that from within this array. And we'll check for the small first, and then also the extra small. We need this to return a observable of a number, the number of columns we want to use, and currently it's an observable of breakpoint state. We'll add on the pipe on the end here. And then we'll use the RxJS map operator. I'll bring that in. And what's happening here is if any of these conditions are met, if any of them match, return the number 1. Otherwise, return 2 for 2 columns. Now, we could subscribe to this from within the template by using the async Angular pipe, and that's the way we'll do it. But to use the async pipe, we need to bring in the common module. So we'll make sure we bring that in here. And now we're ready to bring this into our template. Let's open up the HTML. Then here we'll bind to this now. I'll put that in brackets and replace the 2 with that new variable we created. And we'll use the async pipe. And that's it for the changes for the HTML. Now we're ready to test it in the browser. I can already tell it's working when the page first loads. We are seeing 1 column, and we are currently under 960. If we go to 960, we should go into medium, and this is what medium looks like. We should add in that medium. It would look better for 1 column under the medium. So medium will go up to 1200 pixels. Yeah, that will look good. Let's add in the medium. And if we go back to here, and we'll add on to the end here another breakpoint, breakpoints, and then medium. Let's see what that looks like if we go back to the browser. And that goes all the way up to 1200 pixels. Close this out, and we should switch over to 2 columns. That wraps up the implementation of the CDK layout. In the next video, we'll review what we learned in Module 3 and close out Module 3.